Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So we got our new 2025 Ram 1500 RHO, beautiful truck. What we got today in the garage, super excited about this, is the Rough Country e-boards. So automatic power steps for the RHO, super excited to get these on. I got everything unboxed, but everything essentially comes in two boxes. One large box that just holds the steps itself, and then you get another smaller box with all of these components inside. And then I just have my tools here. This should be everything I need to get it installed. But it's a pretty, from the instructions, it looks like a pretty simple install. We got 4 brackets. What's cool about this setup is you have 2 motors on each side. So a nice, strong, automatic, powerful step. You have the wiring loom, some zip ties, control module. You have the magnets for the doors. This isn't plugged into an OB2 sensor or anything like that. This is a more affordable kit. I believe it was about $1,100. Then they got it on sale. I had a 10% discount from being a previous customer, so it took it down to about $1,000, which is not a bad deal for automatic power running boards. I thought about going Mopar, but I got some quotes and it was around like $2,800, $3,000 after install, and wasn't trying to spend that much just for some automatic steps. So we're going cost efficient this time. We're going Rough Country. Came with some LED lights. Looks like an on-off switch that you put inside the cabin, and nuts and bolts, and the instructions. I didn't see a YouTube video out there installing these Rough Country automatic running boards, so I figured I'd make one just to help someone out in the process if you're looking to do the same. Alright, so just a quick look at the instructions. You guys can see everything that this kit includes. Basic tools needed, all the hardware is included. So we're starting with step 1. Looks like we're installing the motors on the driver's side, front and rear. Cool thing about the 1500 is that it already comes pre-installed with these studs, so the motors should just bolt right up onto them. Alright, so we got, let's see here, these are labeled rear left, that's going to be the driver's side, and front left. Alright, so we got the front driver, rear driver. Let's go ahead and get these mounted up to the truck. As far as hardware, it looks like we just need 3 washers, 3 nuts, and 3 locking washers. Alright guys, so going underneath the vehicle, you can see the studs there for the mounting brackets. So it looks like in the diagram you want the motor to face the front, the hood of the vehicle. Up, the holes should line up with the studs, washer, locking washer, and our nut. So 13 millimeters. If you have one of these automatic ratchets, it's gonna make your life a lot easier. Remember, don't go too tight here. We're just gonna get it in place. Okay, so the front side is done. In the instructions, the brackets look fully extended. In my case, they look like they're retracted. I tried pulling on them to manually extend them. It's got a pretty hard pull, so I'm not sure. Let me just get the rear on, and then exact same process for the rear. Got the driver's side, left side brackets mounted on. You can see them right there. What differs with my installation specifically from the instructions, which kind of threw me off, was I believe these brackets are already in the retracted position. There's 2 mounting holes right here. This is where the boards will mount on top of. So the boards will essentially mount onto here, and 2 bolts will hold the boards into place. I tried manually reclining these brackets, but I think they're locked by the motor. Maybe you guys can figure it out, but I couldn't get it to extend. In the instructions, they're extended, so when you attach the board, you're attaching it kind of down here rather than tucking it up in the cab. But either way, I should still be able to proceed with the installation. Alright, so what I'm doing here, I got this kind of lined up of where I think it should be, and then we'll just roughly position these little sliders in line right above the brackets there, or right below the brackets. Alright, a little tip, because I'm doing this myself, I'm just using a crate as some leverage, as acting like a second set of hands as I get this side lined up and bolted up. So, got the bolt. Once you have it lined up, you can just thread it by hand. If it like goes in too far, then you know that you're not aligned with the holes. All right, so next step, let's see, center the step. We can do that because we didn't go tight all the way yet. We can just slide it left and right to get it centered. We'll do that later. Installation of the controller. At this time, install the passenger side, step motors, and step boards. Okay, so repeat on the driver's side what we just did, and then we're going to want to install the controller assembly, which is this piece right here. All right, got both motors lined up, got all the hardware bits next to each of them. Go ahead and get underneath and get them on. All right, guys, it's the exact same process for the passenger side. We got our bracket mounted on. Again, the motor is towards the engine. 3 sets of washers, locking washer, and bolts. Passenger side, rear and front motor on. Let's go ahead and get the board on. Again, if you're doing this yourself, using a crate or whatever you have just to get it kind of leveled in the rear, acts as a really nice second set of hands. Alright guys, on to the next step, installing the controller assembly. It says secure the controller assembly to the rocker panel. You're going to want it to go like this, where the top of this assembly is going to be closest to the cab of the truck. If I do that on the passenger side, my power ports right here are going to be facing the front of the vehicle, but according to this diagram, my power ports are over on the left right here. So and my bracket assembly is up like this. So to make it match, I have to install this on the driver's side in order to get my ports to face the rear of the truck. So the instructions are not very clear. So we'll just go ahead and get this mounted to the driver's side. Alright guys, so there are the factory studs. Hopefully that's coming out okay. I'm going to try to position this in a place where you guys can see. Mount this up to that middle bracket position. Locking washer and nut. Alright, so the cool thing is we got pretty much all of the hardware where it needs to be, minus the LED lights, but it looks like now we're moving on to the electrical. It's really nice when manufacturers have good quality floor mats. These are extremely high quality, super thick, very durable. Alright, so just keep pulling at it. Just a bunch of plastic tabs here. Try not to break any, and that all just comes out. Now it says lift carpet to expose drain plug. Not sure if you guys can see that, but that circle piece, yeah, you can. Okay, so that circle piece right there, I believe is a drain plug. So we got it out. It's all right, cool. So we got it out. It's got a lot of adhesive on it. We'll go ahead and drill in, we're going to go ahead and drill a 1/2 inch hole in this and just put it back. So I'm just going to start small. Alright, so we got our 1/2 inch bit. Alright, so 1/2 inch should be good. Okay, alright, reinstalled. Alright, so we got our wiring harness here. Let's open this up. Alright guys, so we're on to the wiring. I read this and I reread it a couple times just so it would make sense. This was probably the trickiest part I was worried about when it came to installing. Sorry, my furnace just kicked on. But anyway, so I undid the wire loom, got everything laid out. The instructions say you're going to want to run the white wire, brown wire, and the on-off switch wire, which I'm assuming is this one, because it all comes through the same coil here. We'll run that underneath the vehicle through the hole that we just drilled out, and it looks like everything's labeled as far as what goes where. So this is front left, so that's the driver's side. It's going to stick around here. We got a whole bunch of wires here. I'm assuming that's going to go into the control module that we have mounted right around here. And then everything else is labeled. So this says rear right, rear left. That's going to stay on the driver's side, and that's rear right. That's going to go all the way underneath to the passenger side. And then obviously we have the negative and positive terminals over here, so we'll run that to the battery. So, all right, so we'll take this whole set right here, brown, white, and black. Get that out of the way. We'll get underneath the truck and run it through the hole. I prop this up, the carpet up with my little pry tool, just so I can get that light shining through. Should be easier to spot. So that's the hole. That's the hole right there, towards the middle of the screen that we're shooting to run the wires up. Now, but we're gonna run the white through first. Just fish that through. All right, so we've pulled out all the slack. It's all the way snug. It's not gonna slide back down through the drain hole that we just drilled out. You guys can see that. And then we'll go ahead and orientate the rest of the wire loom. So, okay, so it looks like we're hooking up the on-off switch now. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we got the on-off switch here. Pull this out. Looks like it's just double-sided tape. I'll find a place to mount this in the cab. Alright, as far as mounting the on-off switch, I think I'm going to do it right next to right here. These dimmer switches for the instrument panel. I just pulled this panel down, just held on by clips, pulled that down. It allows me to run the wire underneath here to keep it hidden. And then we'll run it up under here. Up under here where there's a whole bunch of other factory wires. We'll just zip tie to one of those things and we'll get it underneath the carpet. And then we'll just take one end, the end of that on-off switch, and we'll plug it right there. And then we'll plug it into the wires that we just fished up. So right there. Okay, so on-off switch wire, the wire we just fished up. Plug that in. There we go. Alright, so I just removed the adhesive, put that right next to there, and you can see I just buttoned that compartment back up and it's just nice and hidden. Alright, got the on-off switch connected. It says connect the on-off switch to the harness, which I just did. Leave switch in the on position. This will keep the motors in the extended position. In my case, they are already not extended, so I'll just keep in the off position. And then move on to the next step. Alright, so it looks like we're switching over to the passenger side. So next step, remove the interior trim panel on the passenger side of the vehicle. Caution for airbags. Connect the white signal wire from the wiring harness to terminal A. Okay, so as far as these sensors are concerned, there's two sets. You got one over here, one over here. Confusing at first, but just read it. It's not too bad. So basically, we have these two. They got like an RFID logo on them. But anyways, they're going to attach to the door jamb. So on the front door jamb and on the rear passenger door jamb. You have one of these. This is going to connect to the ground after you remove the interior trim panel on the front, and then you have one connection port over here. This is going to connect to the white wire that we fished up through the bottom of the cab. So remember, we fished up the white wire on the driver's side, so I'm assuming we have to fish that around the dash somehow, underneath the dash, to get it to connect over there. But let's go ahead and remove the interior panel and get started. Alright guys, so in the instructions it looks like there's a bolt right by the passenger trim piece that we got to remove, and it looks like in the pictures they kind of fish through the weather stripping here. So let's see if we can remove this giant panel, see if that makes a little more sense. Okay, so that's out. I thought that was an airbag and it freaked me out for a second, but I don't think it's just either some sound dampening device or whatnot. But okay, so we got that out. There should be a bolt down here somewhere I can ground to. Okay, so I just removed additional panels in the front there. I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but we got some more plastic up right below the seatbelt area. Sorry, it's hard to see, but I found a bolt here that connects this little module. We can pull that bolt out and we can ground to there. That's a lot easier to get doing undone than that frame bolt I had earlier originally thought. And right there, which actually connects the frame and the body. We're not going that route. So, okay, so we're going to ground to that wire. Alright guys, let me see if I can explain this. So basically, we got two of these little sensors here. This one, the one with the little port, needs to connect to the white wire that we fished up from there. So I'm not sure how I'm going to run that across the cab just yet, but we'll figure that out. And then this one is going to be attached. We'll run it through the wet weather sealing, and we'll probably position it right around here on the front door. The second one, this one is going to attach the exact same thing. We're going to fish it around, except it's going to be on the inside of the rear door. And this one has the connection that we're going to ground. So I'm going to remove that bolt I just showed you earlier. This one right here, which is closer towards the front door, right there. We'll undo that, we'll ground it, and bolt it back in. We'll work a little backwards, and then I'll figure out how to run that white wire from the driver's side all the way to this side. Hopefully that's coming through, and that is grounded. I'm going to go ahead and place my module right here. So I'm going underneath the weather stripping, and there's the port that's supposed to connect to the white wire. Alright guys, we're going back to the driver's side. Here's the white wire that I was talking about earlier. This is a lot longer than the brown, so it makes sense for us to fish it across. I'm thinking the cleanest way we can do this is somehow run it up under the cab through there. Alright guys, so we just shoved the wire. We didn't use any wire fishing tools or anything. I just took the wire and shoved it as far as I could towards the passenger side. And what I did, let me show you guys. We'll come around, fold this down where I got my flashlight. Okay, so we got this rug folded down. I'm shining a light, and long and behold, I can see that white string. So I'll just grab like a screwdriver or something, and I'll actually, I got a tool I think I can use to grab that wire and pull it through here. Alright, awesome. So I have this for my exhaust for my motorcycle. This is just a spring puller, but I was able to fish that in through the hole in there, catch onto the white wire, and then pull it out. So now we got the wire that we originally fished up from the bottom of the truck, and we got it ran inside the cab. I'm going to run it underneath the carpet. We'll catch it in this channel here, and then we'll go up and we'll connect it to our sensor here. Alright, so I removed the adhesive, got that stuck onto the inside. I'll button this stuff up all later, just to make sure that the steps do work. For now, we'll go ahead and tape the rear door. Alright guys, so we're back to the driver's side. We're going to do the exact same thing. But fortunately, we don't have to fish a wire because the brown wire is on this side. That's the next step. So this brown wire is going to connect to those sensors, and then we'll ground it with, there's a bolt right here. You can't see it, but I'll remove this panel, and it's going to be the same bolt we did on the passenger side. May not show you guys on camera just because it's the exact same process. Just have to remove this trim, and you'll see that bolt that you can ground to. Alright, so for the driver's side, we got the brown wire connected to that sensor module, and we got the RFID or whatever sensor tag right here inside of the door jamb. I'm holding off on the rear just because I'm not 100% sure on where I want to stick it yet, but I should be able to proceed to the next step. And once I get a clear picture on how the magnet attaches to the door and how it syncs up with this, I will tape this down. So, alright, so back to the instructions. So connect the 4 plugs of the wiring harness to the controller assembly mounted to the body of the vehicle on the driver's side. Alright, so the rest of the wiring harness, it looks like this is going to be it. So we'll connect this to the control assembly that we have mounted right around here. We'll get underneath the truck. Alright guys, so this is going to be a little hard to explain, but on to the next step where we're trying to connect the 4 connectors to the control assembly. So what you want to do, you guys can see that drain hole right there with the brown and the white and the black wire coming through. You're going to want to take the connectors that connect to the control assembly and run it above the frame. So don't let it drop down. Which is what I originally did, just directly in front of you, because then you're in the same area as the exhaust and you're going to have some issues with the heat. So when the wires come down, you want to make sure your connectors keep it over on top of the frame, so that way it's in the same cavity as the closest to the your pinch seam here. So that way then you can run all your wires across the body. And you avoid the exhaust over here. So just know you got to run those connector pins above the frame, keep it close to the outside of the body, and then just pull enough slack so that way you can connect to the control panel here. So I'm just connecting the 4 connectors here, and then we'll
I think we're onto the battery next. Oh no, we're onto the LED lights after this.
Alright guys, so it looks like the next step we're going to go ahead and mount the LEDs. I may skip this step just for now because I want to get the connectors connected to the motor and then eventually get the battery terminals hooked up so I can test the functionality of it. So I may skip the LEDs for now and then I can go back to it afterwards. Alright guys, so I'm going to skip the LED step and just move on into connecting the connectors with the actual motors, just because the way my my brackets came, they came in the reclined position, so I don't have much access to the pinch weld, so I'll do that after the fact. Shouldn't have an issue moving forward. But as far as the wiring harness, we got the rear left. We'll just run that down there, and then this should be the front left. Yep, that's the front left. So we'll just connect these. This is where the LEDs are going to plug in, so I can always do that after the fact. All right. Okay, since I'm down here, I'll show you anyway. So basically, that's the motor. There's the plug coming off the motor, and we just plug that into the wiring harness. So we got the wires routed across the frame right here, this cross member here. We're just running the wires directly straight across, and then we just pulled out the wires on the other end and connected to both motors. And now moving on to connecting the battery terminals. So it turns out the battery's on the driver's side. I just popped the hood. Didn't realize that, but that's better news because I was running out of slack as far as these terminals are concerned. Go ahead and take a look of how we can pull that up. Quick shot of the engine bay. I don't think I've showed you guys that on the channel yet, but here it is, that beautiful 3.0 Hurricane engine. Look at this massive airbox. That is insane. Twin turbo Hurricane engine, 540 horsepower, 521 foot-pounds of torque. Thing's an absolute monster. We'll take a look down in the bay. I'm going to avoid this area. I'm going to try to... Okay guys, so we fished up our positive and negative terminals right up against the wheel well on the front driver's side. We came up right around in this area. So we had plenty of slack. We got it pulled up. I just used like a super long screwdriver, taped up my positive terminal, and I just kind of fished it from underneath the cab right here. And we got it up to right here. So my screwdriver's poking out right here. Grab my terminals, and now we got plenty of room. We'll go ahead and disconnect the negative and positive, and we'll get these connected. Alright guys, real quick, before I connect the negative and the positive, I want to go ahead and just connect these LED lights. I'm not going to mount them quite yet, but I just want to connect them. That way we have, once we have full power, I just want to make sure no other issues arises, and we got some LED lights on our steps. So, alright guys, so we got the negative disconnected from the terminal. We got the positive on the RAM battery. We got a huge battery right here. I think there's an auxiliary battery right here, but I'm just going to work with the main one. Disconnected negative. I just disconnected the positive, and I attached my positive lead right here. And now I'm just tightening down this screw. Positive terminal is going to be a 12 millimeter. Alright, so we got the negative terminal installed, and we'll just tighten down the nut. Again, this is a 10 millimeter nut. Alright, so we got that installed. We should have power to the boards. Really excited to see what happens next. Module switch here, it is to the off position. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. Oh my god. Yes. Man, okay. That took longer than expected. I think I was pushing close to 3 hours there. Brand new territory, never installed these before. So happy with how much they come out. It's just, I'm not going to put all the weight on them because I haven't actually tightened down the brackets yet, but I love how far they come out. And they drop down quite a bit. I know some of the cheaper automatic steps these days, they literally just like plop down. But the bracket on these, they have a good amount of reach and they get you close to the floor. So it's going to make getting in and out of the cab so much easier. Oh, that looks so good. Okay, let's check the other side. You can see our LED lights are working as well. So I skipped that step. I didn't mount those to the pinch seam yet, but now that they're on, I'll get a better idea of where I want them. All right, we'll check the other side. Oh yeah, beautiful. Check that out, guys. How sweet is that? So freaking awesome. And you save yourself like $1,000 or however much dealerships want to charge you. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and button everything back up from here, now that you guys know how to install them and you guys have the steps laid out in front of you, I bet you guys can knock it out faster than I can. But I'm hoping this video helped you as a guide. And yeah, I'll button everything up. I won't show you guys on camera. Basically just reattach all the trim pieces. I'm gonna remove the adhesive on the LEDs and stick those to the areas where I want them. As it does say cycle the system a couple times, I don't think closing the door will actually cycle it, but let me just try here. Yeah, because we don't have magnets on, so maybe if I turn it off and on at the switch, that will work. Let's try. There we go. Cool. So turn it on again. Alright guys, just going to show you guys where we put the sensors. So we got the sensors on the driver's side mounted right here, right below this piece of hardware, and pretty much it corresponds to the same spot on the door. So as long as it touches each other or gets near enough each other, touches the magnet, then the steps will close. We did the same thing on the rear. I found the best place was going to be right here as far as the sensor goes, and then your magnet goes right here. So same thing on the driver's side and passenger side. They're identical, but this spot I found the best to detect. And now when we close it, I'll show you guys how this works. Close that, and close the drivers. Beautiful. All right, so now that everything works, we've confirmed that the sensors work, we'll just go ahead and button up our panels, get everything all cleaned up. We'll use zip ties, get everything tucked under the cab, and we are done. All right, guys, hopefully this video is helpful for you guys. Anyone who's looking to install these steps, great value, absolutely love them, and thanks for watching. Real quick, just don't forget to go back and tighten all the hardware for your brackets now that you know everything works. Position your board so that center. Right now we didn't tighten it, so you can slide the boards left and right. Position it to it so it's centered or wherever you want it on the cab, and then tighten those bolts up as well.